Hello, everyone. I just got back from the Washington State Democratic Convention for the final day where we voted on our platform for the next 2 years. I'm really proud to say that this is, if not the most, one of the most progressive platforms this country has ever seen. We are now in full support of a single-payer healthcare system. So if I-1600 doesn't get on the ballot and we retain our majorities in the Senate and the House, in the state Senate and the state House, we will pass a universal healthcare system. We will make an equitable chance for race relations within the state. We will be working on good, comprehensive criminal justice reform, not only as a state, but we're asking our federal delegation to do the same. And we are working for the working class. We had a resolution to say no more toll roads, no more toll bridges, and not to tax us to death. We're sick of the taxes, and it's time for the 1% and these big corporations to pay their fair share instead of pushing it off on working class Americans and small businesses. The next thing that we did, which I was really, really proud of, is we told the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee to stay out of our contested elections, that we don't want them here protecting incumbents that do not represent Washington State and do not represent the Democratic Party and what we passed today on our resolution. I was super proud of that because it took a lot of hard work from some of my friends who worked on that. So those weren't the only things in our platform and in our resolutions. There was a lot of stuff regarding guns, which I think we did great on. There were a lot of other stuff, agriculture, education, small businesses, and it goes into some of the finer details of criminal justice reform, economic justice, public housing, and the housing crisis in general, climate change, and so forth. You can find it on the Washington State Democratic website, which I think, again, was such a great progressive move that we could make. And we're going to retain our majority in the state house and the state senate, and we're going to increase those majorities by electing Democrats across the state. I was able to meet a lot of those candidates today for the state levels, and I don't know a lot of their names. I'm horrible with names, at least for the state people. A lot of them from the 12th, the 39th, the 15th, all across the state got endorsements from some of the caucuses, the African American caucus, the Stonewall caucus, the Young Dems, and so forth. I got to meet some congressional candidates. I finally got to meet Dorothy Gasquet, who's running in the 3rd District against Jamie Herrera Butler. I met her opponent, who I do not like. I am endorsing Dorothy Gasquet today, and I'm super proud of her, and I'm really glad I got to meet her. You can see her button here. I got to meet Dr. Kim Schreier, who's running in the 8th Congressional District against potentially and most likely 3-time loser Dino Rossi, and we're going to make him a 4-time loser to a strong Democratic woman. And I met her 2 other Democratic opponents who, if Kim Schreier doesn't win, I will fully support because they're also great progressive candidates also. I also got to meet Christine Brown, who's running against Dan Newhouse. Again, I am so proud of her. She is such a great candidate and just an all-around great person. She was a news anchor for 30 years, and she's a very progressive, strong woman. All of the candidates within these 4 swing districts, almost all of them are women, and I am proud of that. Although I didn't get to meet her personally, I did see the speech of Senator Cantwell. And if you know me whatsoever, you know that I am not the biggest fan of Senator Cantwell whatsoever. And I have been saying that if we can get a progressive candidate, a strong progressive candidate, that I would support back them. Sadly, there is no strong Democratic candidate whatsoever. There was only one other person that came, Dr. Mohammed Saeed, who, quite frankly, shouldn't be in the Senate. And that's all I'm going to say. So reluctantly, I will be endorsing Maria Cantwell for her re-election. Again, another strong woman running for the Senate, and we're going to keep her in the Senate I'm endorsing her because the only two Republican candidates are, or at least the strong Republican candidates, Joey Gibson, who has flirted and been friends with neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and neo-Confederates, and that's something we don't want in the Senate. We don't want here in Washington State. And then it's Susan Hutchinson, who is the former chairwoman of the Republican Party here in the state, and who, quite frankly, doesn't know a lot about what she's talking about, continues to flip-flop, continues to say one thing to the people and then another thing to donors. And that's, again, something we don't want. And quite frankly, Marie Cantwell just came out. She's not accepting any corporate donations whatsoever for her campaign this year. And I'm glad she's doing that. She's moving to the left. And now that the party has endorsed universal health care, I'm hoping she will too. I'll remind you guys that this is just my personal endorsements. This does not reflect the 39th. They haven't made their endorsements for congressional candidates yet, and they won't for some of these people because we're not in those congressional districts. However, if you want to join the 39th Legislative District Democrats, our next meeting is in Skagit County on the 23rd. If you don't have a ride, always message me on Facebook, Snapchat, whatever, because I'll drive you there, because we're always looking for new members and new Democrats. If you want any sort of voting privileges or anything, it is $10 a year for our fee, and it's something that gets you a voice at the table, and it's something that everyone, young people, older people, whatever, we need more Democrats, and it's time to flip the 39th blue, because it can go blue. And I'll tell you why in my next snap. So I truly believe we can make the 39th blue. They're currently held by non-incumbents in all three positions. So our state Senate seat, which is currently held by Keith Wagner, he was appointed after the former senator who was elected in 2016 with no opposition, no Democrats, no Republicans whatsoever, joined Trump's cabinet. Same thing for position 2 is currently held by Carolyn Estlick. And for position 1, it is held by Dan Christensen, who is the minority leader of the Republican Party in the Washington State House of Representatives. And we got him to retire because he knows he's going to lose that district against Ivan Lewis, and Ivan Lewis is going to do great in that district. We have a strong candidate in all three of those races, and not only are we going to flip position 1 and get Ivan in there, because they've got two crazy candidates, Randy Hayden and Robert J. Sutherland. And position 1, we've got Eric Halverson. In 2016, we didn't run anyone in the Senate district, and I truly believe that if our Democrat, Klaus Jones, doesn't make it through to the general, that we will get Jamal Rabia, who is running as an independent. And if we don't get him in, and somehow, for some god-awful reason, we get Keith Wagner versus Elizabeth Scott, we got to support Keith Wagner, because even though I'm not a huge fan of Wagner, he is a more moderate, more sensible, and just more decent. Elizabeth Scott is a Tea Party Republican who chose not to run for re-election in 2016 because she got sick and she was an anti-vaxxer, and that's not something we want in the Washington State House of Representatives or the State Senate, which is what she's running for. I don't want to go on too much of a ramble any longer, but if you want to join the Democratic Party, just let me know. If you want to find candidates you want to help win elections for, let me know. I'll put you in to the right people. If you want to join us, please, because we are now, and I'm glad to say it, and I'm proud to say it, because for a while now, we were the party of the 1%, and we can't do that anymore. That is the Republican Party, and now this new platform has solidified Democrats are the party of the working class, the party of unions, the party of the middle class, the party of people, not corporations, not the 1%, not big businesses. We are a party who are fighting for the many and not the few. And I am so proud of that. And again, please, if you want to join us, just let me know. Message me through Snapchat, Facebook. Have a great night, and I'll be back home tomorrow. Last one, I completely forgot to say it, but another really big moment at the convention was we as Democrats overwhelmingly passed a resolution to get ranked choice voting in the state of Washington as it is working in other countries and municipalities across the country. It's time for fair representation and equal representation and equitable representation.